Hi, my name is Laurel Anderson, founder of Laurel's Originals, and today I'm going to talk to you about the paint that I use for my canvas rugs. Okay, here we are with some of the paints that I use for the canvas rugs. We'll start with the artist paints. I use acrylic paints. So there's several different brands, Groundmacher, Liquitex. There's lots of brands in different art stores and at, like at department stores, Walmart and so forth. And so the acrylic paint that comes out of a tube, it's rather thick. It's very thick. It has a kind of a thick texture. So you can use this paint to work on detail. You can even mix it in with your latex paint that's in a can to alter the color, or you can add a lot more water to it and use it as a wash. You can look for one of my videos about doing the wash on the canvas rug. So it's very thick, but you can dilute it to the consistency that you want to work with. Okay, and then we have these others. These are several different types that you'll find, again, at the Walmart, at your craft stores and art stores. And these are all acrylic paints that are used for material, for textiles. So you can use these to paint on material, and I use them to paint on the canvas rugs. And what's fun about these little tubes is that they come in metallic colors, silver, copper, gold, and you can mix this in with your latex paint to give it a little bit of sparkle. Okay, and then these, I use Sherwin-Williams and I use Lanco. So Lanco is also found in the United States and Canada, as well as Sherwin-Williams and here in Costa Rica. So what I want to tell you about this paint is that you always use exterior paint. Okay, and I use Excello, and I have another base available to me called Colonial Style. I'm not sure if this is available to you in the US or Canada, but there are many different types of bases for the latex paint. I get matte, in Spanish it's called mate, but I get matte paint, but you can also get it in a satin color if you want. It doesn't matter. You're going to be varnishing over this paint anyway. And I use a matte varnish because I don't like a shiny rug. But what I do want to tell you is this, that if you get Excello, for example, and you use a quart or even a gallon, and you want the exact same color to continue with your rug, and make sure that you get the same base. Don't say, oh, well, I'll go with Excello, and then let's say, oh, well, they have a different type of base. These are the bases that color is added to, and the type of base affects the color. So if you buy Excello latex in a certain color and you need to get that exact same color, make sure that you get the same base. Don't go with a different base color like Excello, Colonial Style, or whatever else might be available to you in the United States. So that's what we use. I use, this is the smallest presentation as a quart can. So what I do for easy, working is I just put them in these little jars. And so baby food jars, all my friends send me their jars. And I like to put them in the jars, and then from there I can put them on a plate and use them. These paints here, they come in a different consistency. They're a little bit more liquidy than the thick paint that comes out of a tube. But again, you can dilute it. You can mix it with your latex paints. You can use it for your detail work. And there you have. They're all acrylic paints, okay? Latex paint is an acrylic paint. They're all water-based, so you can mix and match your paints together for your canvas rugs. Okay, well, I hope this was helpful. You can sign up for my email, Canvas Rug Crafters, or my Laurel's Design email. The links are at the bottom of this video. Subscribe to this channel if you want to get some more videos about making canvas rugs and designing canvas rugs. All right, thank you very much. Bye-bye.